is it? I always ask myself when I'm given an equation, I'm asking myself, what is it? In the hope that if I correctly identify it, I have great chances of being able to solve it correctly. So this is indeed a rational equation. It has x in the denominator, so it must be a rational equation. Good. So the next step is, after I identify it correctly, is what is called restrictions on x. What is this? What is a restriction on x? Is a value or maybe values of x that could never be accepted as solutions. Yes, please.
It would be 0 in this case. You can't divide by 0.
Right, that is true. But if x is 0, then I have 0 minus 2, which is negative 2, and I'm allowed to divide by negative 2. And 0 plus 5 is 5, and I'm allowed to divide by 5. So restrictions on x come from the fact that division by 0 is, it's a fancy word, but we really mean it does not exist, is very good. So division by 0 is undefined, meaning there is, if I say to you I have $0 in my pocket and I'm going to pick 5 of you to share my 0 with, how much will you get?
0.
Right. So 0 divided by 5 is 0. But what if I'm talking about the opposite? What if I say 5 divided by 0? How much will that be? So 0 divided by 5 is undoubtedly 0. But what about 5 divided by 0?
5.
So if it's 5, then I will be able, don't write this. If it's 5 or 5 over 1, then I should be able to use the cross multiplication rule in a proportion. And then I will say 5 times 1 is 5, which is 0 times 5, which is 0, which is unacceptable. So coming back to the question, how much is 5 divided by 0? It does not exist. No number. It does not exist. We don't like either one. We like undefined. So division by 0 does not exist. It's undefined. There's no number that replaces that. So therefore, when I come back to my equation, I will have to write several restrictions. One for x minus 2. X minus 2 cannot equal 0. And the other one for x plus 5. X plus 5 cannot equal 0. X plus 5 is here. X minus 2 is here. These are the only restrictions. But what does this mean in terms of x? What does this mean in terms of x? Yes, please.
X cannot equal positive 2, and x cannot equal negative 5.
Very good. These are the restrictions on x. And now, here's my question. Why do I write these? As a reminder to myself. Hey, don't forget. At the end of the day, when you finish solving this, if you get x equals 2 or negative 5, what would you say? Unacceptable, right? Also, if I don't write the restrictions, whatever I get, I have to go back and check. I'm lazy. I don't want to go back and check. I want to go just check against the restrictions. Good. So that's the first step. Every time, as you see, this is totally different than what we just did. This was linear. This is one recipe. This is rational. This is a different recipe. So that's why we need to correctly identify the type of equation, because everyone has a different recipe. Okay. So coming back to the equation, here's the next step I recommend. I recommend moving this term to the other side. So 4 divided by x minus 2 plus 3 divided by x plus 5. What will I write next? Say it again. I just didn't hear. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Minus.
Perfect. Yes. When I move a term from one side to the other, all I have to do is change its sign. But now this is crucial. If I forget this, I'm changing the equation into an expression and I will never solve. Exactly. So I moved the only term that we had on the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So therefore, the right-hand side is 0. Every equation has only one left-hand side, only one equal symbol, and only one right-hand side. Please keep that in mind. Perfect. What will be my next step now? Of course. Thank you. The LCD. Look what I do. I draw a long fraction line, then I copy the equal symbol, and then what else I have to copy before I do anything? Exactly. If I omit this, I'll be in deep trouble. Okay, so now let's identify the least common denominator, please. So what is it? Very good. It's the product of the two factors. Are you okay with this? So these two, all the different factors I see here, there are only two different factors. They have to be in the least common denominator. It's like saying 1/2 plus 1/3. They have nothing in common, so it must be the product of the two. The next step I'm going to do is this. 2 was multiplied by what to get 6? So I have to multiply the top by the same quantity. 3 was multiplied by what to get 6? So that's why I have to multiply the top by the same quantity. 3 times 1 plus 2 times 1. Okay, that's a quick refresher of adding fractions. So now I'm asking myself this. I took the liberty to multiply the denominator by, good, I have to do the same thing to the top. For the second fraction, I took the liberty of multiplying x plus 5 by x minus 2. I have to do the same thing to the top. This is a reminder. And then what happens here? What do I multiply the top of the third fraction by? I accept nothing, or if you would still want to write something, it's just 1. Now please pay attention to one remark I have, because I'm sure this will probably come up. Some of you are probably wondering, why don't I write this? Right? Right? Here's the reason why. Can you continue from here? Yes. Is this correct? Yes. The reason why I don't do it myself is because I'm pretty sure that I will find at least one student who will do this. And that will be a horrible mistake, because this is part of a term, this is another term, and this is another term, and this is a factor. You cannot simplify a term with a factor. So that's why I never write this. Instead, I distribute right away. So 4 to x plus 20 Very good. So now no one will be tempted to simplify anything with x plus 5 or x minus 2 in the denominator. Now, will you get full credit if you know how to continue from here? Of course. If you're comfortable with this, forget about my method. I'm fine. I don't recommend it though. Okay, myself. I don't use it. Good. What will be the next step? See how many steps forgive me. See how many steps this rational equation has. First of all, we had to look at it, right, and identify it. Then, once we identify it, then we had to say, oops, I can divide by 0. Division by 0 is undefined. So then I ended up with 2 restrictions. Then I moved one term to the other side, had 0 here, found the least common denominator, found those adjustments. I call them adjustments or reminders if you want. Then I get this. Now I have to do what? Very good. So then I have 7x plus 7, very good, divided by x plus 5 times x minus 2 equals. Now I'm asking you a question. Can I write 3 as 3 over 1? Can I write 10 as 10 over 1? Do you allow me to write 0 as 0 over 1? Why? 0 over 1. 0 over 1. Not 1 over 0. I said 0 over 1. It's still 0, right? Good. So I'm going to write 0 over 1. And you can say why. I'll explain in 1 second. From the very beginning, how many fractions did we have in this rational equation?
3.
Good. How many fractions I have now? 2. One on one side, the equal symbol in the middle, and the other one on the right-hand side, correct? This is still a rational equation, but it has a specific important name that we have to remember. Because only in this one that you're going to tell me the name for, I am allowed to, exactly, only in this one. How is it called? Yes. 4x plus 3x, 20 minus 13. Better? Good. Yes. Only in a proportion I'm allowed to cross multiply. So A divided by B equals C divided by D is the same with very good equals awesome. Perfect. This is what I want you to tell me now. What do I do? What is my next step? This times this equals this times this. Awesome. I know some of you may think, because I always get this question. Wait a minute. What happened to the denominator? Where is it? Where is the denominator? After we cross multiply, then we change it into a linear equation like this. The denominator, this times 0, is right here. It's 0. Nothing happened to the denominator. We use the cross multiplication rule. So now this became what type of equation? If I identify it correctly, I will know how to solve it. It is a linear equation. I move 7. And now I have a big question mark here. I have 2 options. One option is I check against the restrictions. Or the second one, if I did not write restrictions, I have to go back and check in the original problem. But I did my work. And I don't want to go back and check. And I'll say, is -1 on this list? No. I'll say yes. And now you can say, well, what if you made a mistake down the road? It's possible. It is. But at least I checked against the restrictions, and I'm hoping that all my steps are correct. You can still go back and check in the original problem. This is one method of solving rational equations. Any questions? I would like to choose another, but before we do that, I'm just going to say that 1.1 and 1.2 are done. And I want you to redo the problems we did in class. I want you to read the examples solved in the text. And I want you to go to the list of problems and do at least half before you attempt your homework. You can say this is huge. I agree. I would like you to do at least half of these between now and Thursday before you attempt your homework in my math lab. So we have time to work on one more problem. Would you like to choose if you have a book, or I will choose? You trust me to choose another, or you want to choose another? Do I get to choose? Okay, perfect. So,
Can we do a hard one?
I can only show you the book, and you can choose if you want. Let's say 79. We'll try to finish in 6 minutes. If we don't, I will not hold you over and we can finish it next time. Let's say 79. I have no idea on page 121 what you meant by hard, but maybe this one. Is this hard enough?
I guess.
Okay, very good. My first thought is what type it is. That's my first thought. I know we only looked at two types, and I know that this is either linear or rational. So, Kyle, you're already packed. Do you want to solve it?
Yeah, sure. Rational.
Okay.
The restrictions are negative 3 and positive 3.
Do you all agree with not equal to 3 or negative 3?
Yeah.
So x minus 3 does not equal 0 means x not equal 3, and x plus 3 does not equal 0 means x not equal negative 3. Would you agree? Okay, good. And the next step.
Which side of the
So 4x over x plus 3 minus 12 over x minus 3.
minus 4x squared plus 36 over x squared minus 9.
I already need to factor that. I'm not going to write it again. And we talked about this an hour ago. Very good. Good. It took us 10 minutes to solve the first one. It should take us 2 minutes to solve this one. Look what I do, because if I forget this and this, I will not solve. So please tell me what to do next. The least common denominator. We never multiplied the factors in the denominator. Say it again. Very good. Awesome. What does this need? Do you all agree with x minus 3 for the top of the first one? Yes? Okay, the top of the second one? I agree. And the top of the third one? Right. Or you don't have to write anything. Good. So I'm ready when you are. Very good. Minus 12x. I didn't hear the sign, so that's why I stopped. Without a sign, I cannot write. Very good. Minus. Good. Say it again. Good. I have to distribute to both terms. I'm distributing negative 12 to both terms. And then? Very good. Perfect. So now the top. Yes, it happens that these two go away. Negative 24x minus 72. Everything divided by. Perfect. Equals. Now I need something that triggers our memory.
0, 1.
That's it. And now what do I do? Yes, I will cross multiply because I can. So negative 24x minus 72, because this was multiplied by 1, must equal. Good. What type of equation is this now? Good. I have to separate the terms. So, good. So what do I conclude about this equation?
Undefined.
Or better, for an equation. So when I talk about the division by 0, I say undefined. But when I talk about an equation, I say no solutions. No solutions. See, it took us 10 minutes, right, to solve the first one, and it took us less than 2 minutes, right? Maybe 3. I don't know. Maybe 3 minutes to solve this one. Any questions for me?
Why did nobody